First question is, who are you and what character do you play?
Hey, my name is Brian F. I am a Street Fighter player for Team Equinox, and my main is Balrog.
What scene do you represent, if you represent a
Ooh.
scene?
What scene do I represent? That's a good question these days. I was raised by the South Florida FGC, I would say. Kind of, that's where I got my legs going in the FGC. So started off in learning Street Fighter 4 in Miami, and then I went to University of Florida. So I was kind of like bouncing around between all the Florida scenes. So for the longest time, up until like 2016, I would say Florida, repping Miami. But for all of Street Fighter V's life, I've been here in the Midwest. But there's not too much of a local scene. There was a little bit, and I met some great players. Met Mira, who's now out in the West Coast, and Just a Kid, David. Turns out he lived down the street from me, and I saw him go from like the bronze level to warlord overnight. But there's not too many locals, so I usually say I represent like the online scene, kind of like Street Fighter 5. Besides my fundamentals that I carried over from 4, it was all online. That's where I learned the game.
I feel that. I feel like you're the most popular online Street Fighter 5 player. I stand behind that.
But I just think it was interesting how, for me, like, I think at that time when I was starting to stream, everybody came from a scene and was kind of known from somewhere else. And, I just used what I had available. So I just kept grinding online and just kept streaming. And you can learn the game online. You got to make some connections and try to find the right people to practice with, but you can do it online.
Yeah, you mentioned the Florida scene, man. How do you feel about Duke stepping out of the gaming space right now?
Well, I hope he does whatever's best for him and his family. Dude's a legend. Was always like the bar that you're competing against in Florida. So like, he's been beating my ass since he was like 13. You know what I mean? Like, I showed up. I was getting to know the Florida scene. I showed up to a tournament before I really knew anyone.
Right.
And I remember this kid sitting down next to me, and he starts beating me with Cammy. He starts beating me with Rufus. He starts beating me with Akuma. And I'm like, man, I thought I was kind of good at this game and this kid. And I hear everyone saying like, oh, Dude here to take our money again.
Right.
And then I pieced it together that he's the guy.
Yeah.
And he won the tournament. So he was always there, and it's always been like a real inspiration for me. And I always thought he was like the true professional player. Like when I thought about a professional player for Street Fighter, I always thought about Knuckle Dew. So I wish him the best. It hurts to lose him from the scene, but he's still around, and that's what matters the most. So whatever makes him happy, I'm all for it.
Exactly. He'll always be a premier U.S. player for sure. Like, we could never bring up Street Fighter without Dew in the U.S. So that's dope. So next question is your gamer tag is pretty obvious, but the question is, what's your gamer tag and where did it come from? And I can switch it up. Why did you stick with Brian F?
I was always terrible at making up names. I feel like if I had stat points, creativity is like a real low one for me.
Like, so you weren't down for like Brian Furious.
No, I'm not that kind of guy. I can't elaborate from that. So I saw kind of the formula with other players, and I was like, yeah, that's my name. I might as well use it. So I stuck with it. I guess I threw in the underscore to confuse every like website. Like I noticed that on a lot of these FGC stat websites and stuff, if you type in the underscore, it breaks their website.
Oh,
so
wow.
maybe as another programmer, I threw that in to see if you guys are doing your websites right and structuring your databases, sanitizing inputs, because the underscore throws off the branding, but I've stuck with it. So kind of kept that on every platform. So I make sure to clarify it's Brian _ F.
Mm-hmm. Of course, your competition is Shine and Profit. So I want to know, how do you feel about, in general, about the players themselves, not their characters, but how do you feel about the players Shine and Profit?
I'll start with Shine since he's been around the longest. I think he's, there's like the tier 1 USA players, which I think most recently would be like Idom, Punk, and Knuckle Dew. And I think Shine is like right there in the tier 2, right? Because he's the guy who, he might not have the most publicity for the wins he's gotten, but he's like a player's player. Like
Yeah.
if you're in the know, you know how much work Shine has done and how much
Yeah.
a threat he has. And I always like to point out his, like, I think it was 2017 or 2018 Evo run. He went to losers like round 2 and then beat 40 of like the best players in the world all in a row, all off stream. Like Sako, Gamer B, Mena. Like it just kept going. And like he's that kind of dude who, like, none of it's on stream, but he beat every player that just won a premiere in the past month. So to me, he's a consistent threat, extremely solid. And has a flair for the cheap stuff on top of that. So I always love playing him. He usually beats my ass, but I think recently I sort of started to win against him a little bit more. So I'm always excited to play him because I'm hungry to beat him.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of respect for Shine. Always fun to play against.
Yeah, Shine will test. He will test you. So yeah.
Oh, he definitely will. I mean, he's one of those players where like you feel like you're getting better as you play him. Because the moment you start slipping up, you pay for it immediately. Mm-hmm. So it really makes sure you're sharp and in shape with your play, which I respect a lot. And on the other end, Prophet, he just came up on my radar, I guess within a year, maybe about a year ago. And it's funny to me. I think it's great that you have Shine and Prophet in the same group because I think Prophet almost always beats Shine in every NLVC and even at, I think it was ECT or one of the East Coast rankings recently offline. Prophet, I think it was ECT, and Prophet also beat Shine there. And that's when I first heard about him. I was like, oh, damn, like, who's this other white dude playing good Street Fighter 5? You know what I mean? Like that was like my claim to fame. I was like the best white player in the FGC and for Street Fighter 5. And I was like, damn, Prophet's he's on the come up right now.
Yeah.
He smoked Shine, and then every NLBC I would glance at the bracket, Prophet over Shine, Prophet over Shine.
Yeah.
So
we did the research. Yeah, we did the research to make sure. So
right. So I thought that was really, really cool that you got them together. And so I've been playing more and more with him since then. And I think he's one of the most, like, he's part of that Urian squad we have at NLBC, but he's one of the most like calm, I would say. He doesn't try to overextend as much. He picks his spot. He's very calculated and safe in his approach, which in some ways for me is easier because he's not as nutty.
Right.
But you can definitely see, like, when he picks his spots, he makes it count. I just extremely fundamentally sound kind of player,
Yeah.
And I really like that about his play style. That said, I don't think he's beaten me in tournament yet. He's had some close calls. There's been some. It's online, and we've had some weird connections, but
I'll be honest about this, man. The team, we struggled going with Prophet because we thought the connection issues. So we're gonna work through it.
Me?
Yeah, no, it's not just you. We I consult a group of people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's worked in my favor though. CPT online for the East Coast that just passed. We had to play to qualify for top 8, and I was up 1-0 against him. And then he was about to kill me with the game-winning combo, and then the game just froze for a second, and he dropped. It was like doing the EX Fireball to get the extension on the juggle, and then I just quick rise and mashed 3-frame into V-trigger and won. But the game literally froze for a second, and so he like mistimed the juggle, and I won off that, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Capcom.
It felt bad, but sometimes the lag works for you, sometimes it works against you.
We will talk about that later. So next question is, how do you feel against their characters, Ibuki and Urian?
So Ibuki, apparently she's C tier according to Japan, and Shine's been trying to ride that wave, and I won't let him. Ibuki's cheap, right? She's still top tier in my eyes, but the nerfs have added up, so it's not as frustrating and doesn't feel as unfair. She can't just activate V-Trigger 2 and have her way. She has to earn the hit a bit. A little bit more whiff punishability on some of her normals, and like if they mess up, they basically added more consequence if you're playing bad, which I appreciate. So I think high level Ibuki players are fine, but there's more ways to punish sloppy play. So I mean, you feel it a little bit, but I still think she's very strong. I think she has a slight edge over Rog, but recently, since I finally tightened up in the matchup, I've been doing better and better. I think it'll come more down to the player matchup than character matchup between me and Shine. So I think Rock and Vadibuki just got to be super on point.
Yeah. It's always interesting when you get into a super high level play. It's really about the players. You know what I'm saying? The character matchups it's not as much about that, but it's about the players. You know, so.
Right. Every once in a while it's about the characters, but I mean, every once in a while it's like, this is a wash. But the way it is right now with these matchups, it's definitely more about the players between like Balrog Ibuki and Balrog Urian. Okay. I think like Balrog Urian's probably 5-5, maybe slight edge to me for both of them. Obviously, I'm biased on Balrog. I think it's slight edge to those characters because the robbery potential is a little bit more high, especially for Urian. I think the neutral's fine. I think we both have good control neutral, and both of our offense is decent against each other. It's just that Aegis out of nowhere. You know, that's like the slight edge to Urian is how I feel about it.
It's a great V trigger.
It's pretty decent. Not bad.
All right. So next question is you already spoke about this a little bit, but what's the track record between you two? I know you talked about Shine, but and Prophet, but lay it out clearly. What's the track record between you two?
Okay. Track record between me and Shine, I would say Shine had beaten me in every single interaction until a few months ago, every single tournament. And then I finally beat him in tournament, and I think I won the past 3 out of 4 times we've ran into each other. And that's great. Like, I'm super stoked about that. Like, when I finally beat Shine, I had lost to him at least like 6, 7, I don't know how many times. Every NLBC online, always lost. So now if you look at the recent momentum, it's in my favor a little bit, I think, but that does not mean I'm sleeping on him. I mean, that is skin of my teeth, like playing out of my mind, trying hella hard to win.
Right.
Which is why I really enjoy playing Shine a lot. I feel like he really pushes me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep that up, trying to keep that recent momentum up. Prophet, on the other hand, I think I've always won. We haven't played as much. I think it's like maybe 2 or 3 times we played in tournament. And I've won, I think, every time. I might be wrong, but there's so many Urians in NLBC. But I think I have the best track record against him because my style just matches with him well. Like, he slows it down for me, and I'm more comfortable with that. And I kind of know a few habits that he doesn't deal with as well, and I tend to go a little ham in those areas.
Take advantage.
I pick up on it. I'm like, if I kind of go a little ham here, it might work out. So I think right now it's all winning record, but always like 2-1. You know what I mean? It's never a blowout.
Yeah.
Could go either way.
So what do you think the final count would be versus you, Prophet, and Shine?
You know, I think I have an advantage here, not because like I'm saying I'm better than either player, but because I think Prophet always gives Shine trouble, but I always give Prophet trouble. And lately I've been winning against Shine. So that kind of breaks the A, B, C kind of formula here. So I think I might have the slight edge. If I can keep up my record against both of them right now, I think it'll be 15 me. And then I think it'll be like neck and neck. It's going to be like 13, around 13, 12, maybe like 13 Shine, 12 Prophet, or even closer. I think it'll be really close, actually.
Okay. How do you feel Capcom has adjusted to COVID-19?
I think Capcom made decent progress in adjusting to COVID-19. Obviously, it could be better, but you know, in this day and age right now, I'm willing to cut a lot of slack because things are rough for a lot of people right now, and you know, CPT Online has issues and it's not the best. But I think going to that, we know that it's not the best, and it's more for us to have something to look forward to as competitors and as fans of the franchise. So overall, I'm happy we still have CPT Online. I'm happy that they were transparent with the summer update, giving us more content that's coming up, even if it's way far out. So overall, I think they're doing okay. But with Capcom, you know, it's always like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 step back. It's always a little like there's always some give and take with anything positive with them. But overall, I'm leaning in the positive direction. I'm happy they're talking with us. I'm happy CPT is going, and I'm happy we can still play and enjoy and watch competitive Street Fighter.
What do you think about the surplus of online tournaments that we've been having?
Yeah, there has been a lot of them.
A lot of tournaments.
You know, LBC got canceled last night.
Yeah.
And I hate it, but I was almost a little bit relieved.
You got a break.
It's a break, yeah. You got to be careful to avoid burnout, I think. And on one hand, I'm super happy to play NLBC super like every week against high level opponents because it's a whole different mindset. I realized to consistently put yourself in that position over and over and over, and I think it's helped me improve as a player. But I also think you gotta take some time to relax because I get stressed out when I compete. Like throughout all these years, I still get nervous. I still get super stressed. That's something that hasn't changed for me at all. And so you want to stress yourself the right amount for growth, but not too much that you don't recover. So I'm happy we have all these tournaments, but I think as a competitor, you also gotta pace yourself. Right. So maybe a couple weeks on, a couple weeks off kind of deal. Right. And I think that's a good balance to strike. But it's awesome that we have all these options. Like not every scene in every game is as fortunate.
How do you feel about how Capcom handled the Pro Tour this year?
Yeah, I'm happy that it's happening at least. But the parts that frustrate me the most are like the dead obvious ones where they're just purposely making things worse when it takes no effort to make it better. For instance, not letting us play on training stage in top 16. When like if you're not going to fix your netcode, why are you going to force us to play in stages that cause PS4s to slow down? PS4s slow down, can't keep up 60 FPS, starts causing all kinds of havoc in the rollback. And it's just like every match I played in top 16 of CPT Online was the worst version of any match I'd ever played against those players. And I played them all before, like Hoji, Prophet, Child. It was the worst version of the match I'd ever played against them. Right. Before it was all on training stage. This time it was all on different stages. And it's like it takes no effort to allow us to play on training stage. So stuff like that really pisses me off because that's still a part where we're falling on deaf ears and they won't listen to us. And it takes no effort. And it's just let us play on that stage. If you're not going to fix the netcode, and we'll have a better experience. And even if it doesn't matter, at least we tried and we have nothing else to complain about besides your netcode, which doesn't work anyways. Right. So
yeah,
weird stuff like that.
Yeah. Even I would say, like, if you don't want us to play training stage, make us another stage with only static content in the background. You know what I'm saying? Right. If you don't like the training stage, how it looks, because you want to sell stages, make another static stage that looks good, that it doesn't affect loading, anything. Nothing's moving. It's just like, okay, it's on everybody's shit. It's no problem. But
or make a real spectating client. I mean, there's so many things you can do. Like we're I think when people talk about it, we think so like limited because that's what Capcom gives us. But for any other esport, you see the way like people watch shooting games.
Yeah.
Right. Or a MOBA. You have a spectator client that has a whole new world of options in order to provide a viewing experience to the audience. And you can just have a spectator client where you pick any stage because we won't see it. We'll be playing on whatever stage we want, training stage or otherwise. Yeah. It doesn't have to be, I don't think it has to be symmetric. It can be anything. Yeah. You have a spectator client that shows inputs or does whatever, turn it on and off.
You can give them, man. You can give all the options, man. That'll be great for commentators too, man. They can see what's negative or whatever. So that'll be great.
Right. If you want to turn it on and off, instant replay, like this is stuff that exists in other games. Like we don't think about it with fighting games because we're so used to having just everything be very jank and barely working. But if you look at other esports, they're showing what's possible. So I don't know. I'm not even saying for them to build that. That's like, obviously they're never going to do that because that's too much to ask of Capcom.
They can do it. It's all of the mechanics are there. That's the thing I hate about it. I don't want to go off on the interview, but they're all of the mechanics are there. Like they have all of the mechanics, the reputation. They have all of these things to make a great game. They just suck at marketing. They suck at caring about their consumer and like building the product that they want. Like I just don't get it, man. Every fighting game would love to be in Street Fighter's position, but they just don't give a fuck. So
it hurts because they're so close.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Something great.
Yeah, I want to know how you feel about the timetables that Capcom has put in for Street Fighter V. They just released some of the new content, and some of the content goes out to 2021, 2022. So I want to know, like, how long do you want to see Street Fighter V? And how long do you think is viable for the community?
I'm in no rush for Street Fighter 5 to end. I wasn't even in a rush for Street Fighter 4 to end after 8-9 years, right? And if anything, I'd rather them take their damn time, because Street Fighter 5, when that dropped, Street Fighter 4 was at its peak almost. It was as an esport, it was at its peak.
Yep.
Street Fighter 5 dropped, and it was a giant piece of flaming garbage. It was the worst product I'd ever spent $60 on, ever. It did not work, right? I could not believe that this was something that I had spent money on. Boy. And like once you got into the game and it worked, it was okay, right? Like the gameplay obviously had problems too, but the game itself was fine, but nothing around it worked. So I'm in no rush for Street Fighter 6. Take your time, make it work. And the way I feel about like the DLC coming out super late, to me, like I said before, with COVID going on, there's obviously delays for Street Fighter 6. They're being transparent with us. They weren't even going to do any more characters. Seth was obviously the last character, and I think they made that clear before that was the end. Now we got 5 more characters coming, content through 2021 up to 2022. I'm happy with it. I understand being impatient and expecting more from the announcement, but I'm cool with it. I'm in no rush for Street Fighter 6. Capcom, take your time and put together a complete, viable package and make it something we can recommend to a friend without a guilty conscience.
Right. How did you feel about the new character announcements?
Oh yeah, as far as the characters themselves, I don't really care. I don't know. Like, I think it's cool that new stuff is coming, but I don't have like this huge emotional attachment to the Street Fighter series in that way. Like, I didn't grow up playing Street Fighter. I picked it up when I was like 17, 18, Street Fighter 4, you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So I mashed around in the arcade when I was like 10, you know what I mean? Like once a year I would see a Street Fighter arcade cabinet.
Right.
So it's not like like Akira was announced and I'm like, who, you know?
Yeah. So none of the characters stood out to you at all.
Right. Oro stood out a little bit because I think his artwork is cool. But the thing about Oro is in still frames, he looks cool. And then I looked at his gameplay and I'm like, this dude is a fucking frog just hopping around.
Yeah.
I don't know. I watched a little bit of gameplay of him. I'm like, I don't like how it looks, but I like how his character design is. But in the gameplay, he just does this.
Yeah. It's not Street Fighter-esque.
I kind of like him, but I also don't like the way he plays in Third Strike at all. But that was the one character that's interesting to me. I'm interested in what they're going to do with him. And Dan's kind of cool. I like Dan in 4 a little bit. Hated playing against him, but playing as him was fun. But overall, I mean, nothing too crazy. I'm more happy that there's stuff to make other people happy and other people to get happy about the game. But for me, new characters means more homework. That's what it means.
Yeah, you gotta know. Yeah. You gotta know. You don't wanna be one of those players who lose to not knowing shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
or to Dan now, especially. You especially got to do your homework on Dan.
I mean, I kind of like you said. I like how Dan. I kind of like how Dan looks. So I wasn't in the Street Fighter 4 like that. So I'm interested to see what he can do in Street Fighter 5. So.
Yeah, his animations look cool. It was just hard to see because they recorded it with their cell phone instead of screen capturing.
Why wouldn't they just? It's Capcom though. It's Capcom. Like, that's what they do. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna record this. We're gonna put subtitles, but we're gonna just pull out a cell phone to record the footage for the play.
It can never be all good. You know, there has to be something messed up about it.
Oh God. Anything else you want to shout out? I know you got your the people you represent. Anything else you want to shout out?
Shout outs to Equinox for supporting me during all this time. Shout outs to everyone who's been tuning in to my streams and YouTube lately. Been trying to do a lot more content. Just like you know, this is now the time to step up and anything you've been thinking about content wise, just do it. Just do it. Now's the time. And just shout outs to everyone playing Street Fighter 5 and supporting the scene. It's a very questionable time in the FGC. Like, we don't know where our future lies and what really comes next. So all the people who are out there supporting where they can and trying to keep the scene alive, I mean, shout outs to you. You're the heroes of the scene right now.